Welcome to the IGC Gate podcast. I am Zayd Haji, author, research student, management consultant, and counselor. We are living through one of the most significant technological shifts in modern history. Artificial intelligence is changing how we learn, work, create, and compete. But while most conversations focus on what AI can do, very few explore what happens when everyone has access to the same tools, the same information, and the same shortcuts. In today's episode, I want to challenge some common assumptions about success in the age of AI and explore what will truly make individuals, students, professionals, and businesses stand out when intelligence becomes widely accessible. Let's begin. And today I want to talk about a shift that is happening quietly in front of all of us, yet most people are looking at it from the wrong angle. Everywhere you look, people are talking about artificial intelligence. Students are using it to complete assignments. Professionals are using it to write reports. Entrepreneurs are using it to generate business ideas. Marketers are using it to create content. Recruiters are using it to filter candidates. Companies are racing to integrate it into every process they can find. At first glance, this seems like an incredible advantage. The technology is powerful, accessible, and improving at a speed that feels almost unnatural. Tasks that once required hours can now be completed in minutes. Research that once required searching through dozens of sources can now be summarized instantly. Ideas that once took teams to develop can now be generated by a single person sitting alone in front of a screen. Most people look at this reality and immediately ask a simple question. How can I use AI better? The question sounds intelligent, but I believe it is incomplete. The more important question is this. What happens when everyone starts using AI well? That is where the real challenge begins. Throughout history, knowledge created separation. People who knew something valuable possessed an advantage. A lawyer who understood complex regulations had leverage. A consultant who understood market dynamics had leverage. A teacher who understood a subject deeply had leverage. Access to information created opportunities because information was scarce. Today, information is no longer scarce. Knowledge is becoming abundant. And whenever something becomes abundant, its value changes. This is one of the most important realities students and professionals need to understand. Many people are celebrating the fact that information has become easier to access. Very few people are asking what happens when information itself is no longer enough. Imagine two students applying for the same internship. Both have access to the same AI tools. Both can generate polished resumes. Both can prepare interview questions. Both can research the company. Both can create impressive looking assignments. The playing field suddenly becomes much more equal. What once differentiated people no longer differentiates them. The same thing is happening inside organizations. The employee who once stood out because they could create presentations faster than everyone else now finds that everyone can create presentations quickly. The marketer who once stood out because they could generate ideas rapidly discovers that idea generation has become almost effortless. The writer who once impressed people with speed now competes against software that never sleeps. The uncomfortable truth is that AI is not just increasing productivity, it is also reducing uniqueness. That sentence deserves more attention than it usually receives. Most technological conversations focus on efficiency. Very few focus on sameness. When everyone gains access to the same intelligence tools, many outputs begin to look similar. The language becomes similar. The recommendations become similar. The strategies become similar. The conclusions become similar. People believe they are becoming more creative while unknowingly becoming more standardized. This creates what I call the invisible competition problem. Many people believe they are competing against other humans. Increasingly, they are competing against millions of AI-assisted outputs that all look remarkably alike. Think about the average student. A student opens an AI tool and asks for help writing an essay. The tool provides structure, arguments, examples, and conclusions. The student submits something that appears impressive. Meanwhile, thousands of other students are asking nearly identical questions and receiving remarkably similar answers. Everyone feels productive. Very few people realize they are becoming difficult to distinguish from one another. The same phenomenon appears in business. A business owner asks AI how to improve marketing. The recommendations include optimizing the website, improving email campaigns, creating valuable content, increasing social media presence, and refining customer messaging. Those recommendations are not wrong. The problem is that millions of business owners are receiving the same recommendations. If everyone follows identical advice, differentiation disappears. The marketplace becomes crowded with businesses that look different on the surface but operate from the same strategic blueprint underneath. This is where many people misunderstand competition. They think competition is about doing more. In reality, competition often becomes about becoming memorable. The future advantage will not belong solely to people who know how to use AI. The future advantage will belong to people who understand what AI cannot easily replicate. That distinction changes everything. AI can process information. It cannot easily manufacture genuine experience. AI can summarize knowledge. It cannot live through consequences. AI can generate possibilities. It cannot replace perspective that comes from real world exposure. Consider the difference between reading about leadership and leading a struggling team through uncertainty. Consider the difference between studying entrepreneurship and trying to make payroll when revenue is declining. Consider the difference between learning communication techniques and navigating a difficult conversation that could change a relationship forever. The world is entering a period where experience may become more valuable precisely because information has become cheaper. Many students spend years collecting information while avoiding experiences that would transform their understanding. Many professionals spend years consuming content while avoiding situations that would force growth. Many people convince themselves they are progressing because they are constantly learning. What they are actually doing is accumulating intellectual comfort. There is a difference between learning and exposure. Learning often feels safe. Exposure often feels uncomfortable, and uncomfortable experiences frequently produce insights that no amount of information can provide. This brings me to another hidden problem affecting modern life. People increasingly mistake consumption for progress. Think carefully about how often this happens. Someone watches productivity videos but never changes their schedule. Someone reads business books but never launches anything. Someone studies confidence but continues avoiding difficult conversations. Someone researches opportunities but never takes action. The activity creates the emotional feeling of progress without producing actual movement. AI can amplify this problem. Because information is now available instantly, people can spend entire days consuming answers without confronting reality. They feel informed, they feel prepared, they feel educated, yet their circumstances remain unchanged. Knowledge creates potential, action creates outcomes. Those two things are not interchangeable. One reason many people remain stuck is because they keep solving informational problems when their real challenge is behavioral. They already know what they should do. They know they should exercise. They know they should improve their skills. They know they should save money. They know they should spend less time scrolling. They know they should build stronger relationships. The problem is rarely a lack of information. The problem is often a lack of execution under discomfort. And discomfort is where most transformation occurs. This is why I believe the future belongs to individuals who develop something deeper than technical competence. It belongs to people who cultivate judgment. Judgment is becoming increasingly important because information alone cannot tell you which opportunity deserves attention, which risk is worth taking, which relationship deserves investment, or which path aligns with your values. Judgment emerges from reflection, experience, observation, and honest self-assessment. It cannot simply be downloaded. The challenge is that judgment develops slowly. Modern culture prefers speed. We want instant results, instant answers, instant growth, and instant certainty. Life rarely operates that way. Many of the most important lessons arrive through confusion before clarity. Many of the most valuable insights emerge after mistakes. Many of the strongest forms of confidence develop after repeated encounters with uncertainty. Technology can accelerate information transfer. It cannot eliminate the developmental process required to build wisdom. This is where I want to leave you at the end of part 1. The question is not whether AI will change the world. It already has. The question is whether you are building qualities that remain valuable when everyone has access to the same tools. Because history repeatedly shows that when a capability becomes widespread, advantage moves elsewhere. When information becomes abundant, judgment becomes valuable. When automation becomes common, originality becomes valuable. When speed becomes accessible, clarity becomes valuable. And when everyone begins sounding the same, authenticity becomes impossible to ignore. I talked about a reality that many people are beginning to sense but have not fully articulated. We are entering a world where access to intelligence is becoming increasingly democratized. The gap created by information is shrinking. The ability to generate content, summarize research, create presentations, develop strategies, and produce ideas is no longer limited to a small group of specialists. When that happens, the source of competitive advantage shifts. This is where most people make a critical mistake. They assume the future belongs to whoever adopts AI the fastest. I think the future belongs to whoever understands what becomes scarce after AI becomes normal. Scarcity creates value. This principle operates in economics, business, relationships, and human psychology. Whenever something becomes abundant, people stop paying extraordinary attention to it. Air is essential, yet nobody thinks about it because it is everywhere. Water becomes valuable in a desert because scarcity changes perception. Information once carried tremendous value because obtaining it required effort. Today, information is available instantly, which means the marketplace is unconsciously searching for something else. The marketplace is searching for signals that cannot be mass produced. This explains something many people find confusing. Have you ever wondered why some individuals attract opportunities even when there are technically more qualified people available? Have you ever noticed that certain businesses continue growing despite operating in crowded industries? Have you ever observed people who seem impossible to replace even though their technical skills can be learned by others? The answer often has very little to do with information. The answer usually has something to do with trust, reputation, credibility, judgment, consistency, or perspective. These are assets that compound slowly. Because they compound slowly, most people ignore them. Human beings naturally gravitate toward shortcuts because shortcuts provide the emotional satisfaction of immediate progress. Building credibility requires years. Developing expertise requires years. Establishing trust requires years. Strengthening a reputation requires years. Creating a recognizable voice requires years. A software tool can generate 1,000 words in seconds. It cannot compress 10 years of lived experience into those seconds. That distinction matters more than many people realize. I want you to think about the hidden frustration experienced by countless students right now. Many students are working harder than ever, yet feeling increasingly uncertain about their future. They see technology advancing rapidly. They hear discussions about automation replacing jobs. They watch industries changing faster than previous generations experienced. They are told to prepare for opportunities that may not even exist yet. This uncertainty creates anxiety because traditional advice no longer feels sufficient. For decades, the formula seemed straightforward: study hard, get good grades, obtain a degree, secure employment, build a stable future. Today, that sequence feels less predictable. The reason is not because education has become useless. The reason is because certainty has become rare. Students are not merely competing against other students anymore. They are competing against global talent, digital tools, automation systems, and constantly evolving market expectations. The response to this reality should not be fear. The response should be adaptation. Adaptation begins by recognizing that technical knowledge alone is becoming less durable. The individuals who thrive will often be those who combine technical competence with uniquely human capabilities. Communication becomes more valuable. Critical thinking becomes more valuable. Relationship building becomes more valuable. Emotional intelligence becomes more valuable. Strategic judgment becomes more valuable. These qualities are difficult to automate because they operate within messy human environments where context matters more than formulas. The same principle applies to professionals. Many professionals secretly worry that technology will make their contributions less valuable. Some fear replacement. Others fear irrelevance. Many simply fear becoming invisible. What makes this fear particularly difficult is that it often remains unspoken. People continue attending meetings, completing projects, and maintaining appearances while privately wondering whether their skills will remain relevant 5 years from now. That concern is understandable. However, the deeper danger is not technological replacement. The deeper danger is professional stagnation. Technology changes rapidly. Human beings often do not. Many professionals continue operating according to assumptions that made sense 10 years ago but no longer match current reality. They continue measuring value through outdated metrics. They continue prioritizing activities that no longer create meaningful differentiation. They continue protecting routines that feel comfortable rather than developing capabilities that create resilience. Resilience deserves more attention than certainty. Most people spend their lives chasing certainty. The problem is that certainty rarely exists for long. Markets change, industries evolve, technologies emerge, consumer behavior shifts, economic conditions fluctuate. Life repeatedly disrupts carefully constructed expectations. Resilient individuals understand something important. Their confidence does not come from predicting every change. Their confidence comes from knowing they can adapt when change arrives. That mindset transforms uncertainty from a threat into a challenge. It also explains why some people recover quickly from setbacks while others remain trapped by them. The difference is rarely intelligence. The difference is often interpretation. One person views disruption as evidence of failure. Another views disruption as information. One person views obstacles as proof they should stop. Another views obstacles as proof they have encountered reality. Reality is where genuine learning begins. Many people spend years operating inside theoretical environments where consequences remain distant. Reality eliminates theoretical comfort. Reality reveals weaknesses. Reality exposes assumptions. Reality forces adaptation. That process feels uncomfortable, yet it creates the kind of growth that information alone cannot provide. This brings me to one of the most important ideas I want to leave with you today. In a world where everyone has access to similar tools, your advantage increasingly comes from seeing what others overlook. Most people focus on visible competition. They study competitors, they analyze trends, they monitor technology. Those activities have value. However, some of the greatest opportunities exist in places people ignore because those opportunities appear too simple, too boring, or too obvious. Consider how many businesses chase sophisticated solutions while neglecting customer service. Consider how many professionals focus on acquiring new skills while failing to improve communication. Consider how many students search for productivity hacks while ignoring sleep, focus, discipline, and consistency. Human beings often search for complex answers because simple answers feel unsatisfying. Yet many extraordinary outcomes emerge from ordinary actions performed consistently over long periods. Consistency is deeply underestimated because its rewards arrive slowly. Modern culture rewards visibility. Consistency often operates invisibly. Nobody applauds the student who studies effectively every day for 4 years. Nobody celebrates the entrepreneur who patiently improves operations month after month. Nobody notices the professional who gradually builds trust through hundreds of reliable interactions. The results eventually become visible. The process rarely does. This creates a fascinating psychological trap. People compare their behind the scenes effort to someone else's visible success. They see outcomes without seeing foundations. They see achievements without seeing preparation. They see recognition without seeing repetition. As a result, they underestimate the importance of sustained effort. The irony is that technology may actually increase the value of consistency. When everyone can produce impressive outputs instantly, the ability to sustain quality over time becomes increasingly important. Anyone can look impressive for a day. Far fewer people can remain valuable for a decade. Long-term relevance requires something deeper than productivity. It requires character. Character is not discussed enough in modern conversations about success. We discuss skills. We discuss strategies. We discuss technology. We discuss trends. We rarely discuss the internal qualities that determine whether someone can sustain success once it arrives. Discipline matters. Integrity matters. Humility matters. Accountability matters. The ability to learn matters. The willingness to confront uncomfortable truths matters. These qualities often determine long-term outcomes more than technical advantages. Technology can amplify strengths. It can also amplify weaknesses. Someone with discipline becomes more productive. Someone without discipline becomes more distracted. Someone with curiosity learns faster. Someone without curiosity becomes dependent on automated answers. Someone with judgment uses technology wisely. Someone without judgment becomes controlled by convenience. The tool is rarely the entire story. The person using the tool matters just as much. This is why I believe one of the most powerful strategies for the future is surprisingly simple. Instead of asking how AI can replace your effort, ask how AI can amplify your uniqueness. That question changes the conversation completely. Do not use technology to become a faster version of everyone else. Use technology to become a stronger version of yourself. If you are naturally insightful, use it to deepen your analysis. If you are naturally creative, use it to expand your ideas. If you are naturally curious, use it to accelerate learning. If you are naturally empathetic, use it to understand people better. The goal is not imitation. The goal is amplification. Because the future does not reward sameness. The future rewards distinctive value. As we close this episode, I want you to reflect on a question that may stay with you longer than any productivity tip or career strategy. If every person on earth suddenly gained access to the same information, the same tools, and the same artificial intelligence, what would still make you valuable? Not your job title, not your credentials, not your software, not your access to information. You, your judgment, your experiences, your character, your perspective, your ability to connect ideas, your ability to understand people, your willingness to act when others hesitate, your capacity to remain adaptable when circumstances change. Those qualities become increasingly important as technology becomes increasingly accessible. The greatest mistake you can make is assuming the future belongs to machines. The future belongs to people who understand how to remain deeply human while intelligently leveraging machines. That balance will separate those who merely survive change from those who create opportunity from it. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this conversation challenged an assumption, exposed a blind spot, or gave language to something you have quietly felt but never fully expressed, then it achieved its purpose. Because my goal is never to give you temporary motivation. My goal is to help you see reality more clearly. And once you see reality clearly, you begin making decisions differently. That is where transformation starts. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the IGC Gate podcast. If today's conversation made you rethink the relationship between technology, value, and human potential, then I encourage you to carry that reflection beyond this episode. The future will not simply belong to those who use AI. It will belong to those who combine technology with judgment, character, originality, and the ability to create value that cannot be easily replicated. I am Zayd Haji, author, research student, management consultant, and counselor. Until our next episode, continue questioning assumptions, continue learning beyond the obvious, and continue building the qualities that remain valuable no matter how much the world changes. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode of the IGC Gate podcast.